Everybody, it's Pandy and I'm playing World of Tanks. If I sound different, it's because I have a different microphone. It's actually a condenser microphone to allow for better gain instead of allowing me or forcing me to force gain within windows on my previous headset. It should come in more smoother and sexy sounding, at least I hope so. And you guys will most likely find faults in how I pronounce things and how I fuck shit up. So hopefully it works out and you guys like what you hear. Let me know if you guys think it's better or worse, along with the question of the video, which should be coming up here soon at the end of the video, of course. Now, I want to give a special shout out to Nevervoid because he's a fucking genius. He threw up a tank index to show all the tanks that he's done for his YouTube channel. If you want to check him out, I'm going to put a link on the video somewhere here. And basically the idea is just to show what he has done and what is left to be done. I think it's a very cool idea, and I thank you, good sir, for letting your Asian brother from another mother use your idea that you use for your channel, for my channel. You guys will be expecting mine to be posted in the next 48 hours pending any issues. The image is already done, I just need to throw it together and post it. This video is now going to be about the T30 American Heavy Tank. I was planning on doing a tank destroyer, probably the Ferdinand, but per popular request via Facebook and World of Tanks chat, it's going to be the T30 Heavy Tank. The T30 was an American tank project that began at sometime in March of 1944 to counter the new German heavy tanks like the Tiger I, Tiger II, and the Moss Super Heavy. And also after the war, the tank development continued to possibly counter the Soviet IS series of tanks. The T30 was basically designed at the same time as the T29, just the major difference being that the turret and the two-piece ammunition 155mm cannon was added to the T30. Both were basically lengthened versions of the M26 Pershing tank with much more powerful engines and heavier turret armor. The T29 and T30 were basically the same, but the T30 itself obviously carried a much larger caliber gun, larger engine, and an extra crew member to help load that gun with a power rammer. These heavy tanks were given a low priority in regards to development and production in 1945 after the surrender of Germany. There was plans to basically use the T30 as a bunker buster during Operation Tornet, Phase 2 of Operation Downfall, which is the invasion of Japan in 1946. However, the Army Ground Forces Command, as usual, objected to its deployment and only limited the number of units produced. There was only one pilot T30 that was built for trials, and it was actually a converted T29. The only one major issue that they actually ran into is related to the ammunition as a whole. The two-case ammunition proved to be difficult to handle even with the power rammer, as it weighed like 60 kilograms or something equivalent to almost like 40 pounds altogether, and it was extremely slow to load even with the power rammer. Now, the lessons from the T30 was transferred over into the development of the T34, which in and in itself benefited the development of the M103 heavy tank, which was used into the 60s, 70s. There was only one post-war variant that was actually developed after the T30, which was the T58 heavy tank. It was the same hull as the T29 T30, but basically the only real difference is actually replacing the conventional turret with an oscillating turret to allow for a fitting of an autoloader. Pretty much, if you can imagine a T30 with a oscillating turret, a lot like the French tanks, but more like Americanized. All in all, this all came together into the development of the M103 in the long haul. So the T30 did have a hand in future American tank design, but it was just simply too heavy and too cumbersome, and because of generals not trusting brand new equipment, I guess the theory is if it's not broke, why fix it? They were pretty content with the Sherman tanks that they happened to be using and never really received any further development beyond what it was. In World of Tanks, the T30 is alright. Not really, it's enjoyable, but not really all that great, kind of. The firepower on the T30 is epic. I'm always a fan of the high damage main guns that happens to be on like the ISU 152, the T95, the E100. The only real downside to the 155mm is its rate of fire. That's the only real downside, but it's not a deal breaker. The only other gun that can beat it in penetration and rate of fire is the BL-10, but not by much. The gun will most definitely lay down the smackdown on anyone willing to go toe-to-toe with you and allow you to cramp anyone's style. I like this gun a lot better than the 15cm main gun that happens to be the big gun on the E100, purely because of the penetration. The E100's gun just can't penetrate a lot of stuff unless you happen to be using gold rounds in pub battles. The gun is very capable of countering the heavy armor on the IS-7, Mosses, and E100s without issue. issue and allows you to effectively kill them in 3 to 4 shots if you're lucky. The short story of all it is it's an epic gun. Now the armor on this tank is just crappy. With only 102 millimeters worth of frontal hull armor, it just simply is disappointing for a tier 10. Anyone with a tier 6 gun is simply capable of penetrating your frontal armor without issue, forcing you to play the tank as simply as a reserve tank or more like a tank destroyer. You guys might have known for the longest time that I don't like sitting back in a heavy tank because I have to spearhead the attack if I am the big tank. If I'm the only tier 10, it just kind of leaves me in a tough spot where I have to lead the attack without argument. If I'm lucky enough to happen to have an IS-7 or another tier 10 tank with some armor on my team, that leaves me some breathing room to be reserved, but that goes against every fiber of my being playing as a heavy tank. But you gotta do what you gotta do to make the round work. But when I do it, I fight from the hull down position whenever possible, only partly because that is where the most of your armor sits. The only problem with this is any skilled player could possibly take aim at the top part of your turret where the armor up there is weaker, easier to penetrate from enemies. So basically what you want is to be in a hull down position with elevation to disallow someone from shooting the top of you to be able to make this tank very, very effective as a tier 10 killer. The lowdown of this story simply is the armor is crap. It's good from hull down, but it shouldn't have to be just good in hull down. It should be good overall. Now the mobility on the T30 is rather decent when you can compare it to the slower moving German heavy tanks. In theory, the T30 and the IS-7 have the same top speed, but you can't speed up as quickly as the IS-7. You can sure keep up with it when you're duking it out in clan wars, but it's not as quick. It doesn't have as much acceleration as the IS-7. The turning rate is a bit worse than the AMX-50B, however it is the same as the IS-7. So you could, in theory, if you get ambushed, you can point your frontal towards the enemy with ease, but the army is so crappy to begin with, you might as well go ahead and take that shot first before turning your frontal towards them. All in all, the mobility is decent and great, comparable to the other tier 10 tanks that I just mentioned, the IS-7. Overall, the T30 comes with a very pleasing cannon, junk armor, and very acceptable mobility. When I compare the differences between the two big, heavy-hitting, high-damage guns on the heavy tank line, which is the 155 and the 15cm, T30 and E100 respectively, the penetration is the deal maker or breaker. I don't really like the E100's lack of penetration, and if you can't pin anything, no matter how much damage your gun could do, it's not going to be decent or good or do anything capable of helping your team win if it can't penetrate. Now the T30 simply makes up for its crappy armor simply with a big 155mm cannon of death. So even though you might be able to beat down a T30 with ease by just simply shooting through its frontal armor, you must respect it for its main gun, and you simply can't underestimate it by any means. It will fuck you up if you let it. Overall, I would recommend this tank to anyone as long as you can accept the fact that you cannot take any hits and you must sit back and fire as though you are a sniper, even though the gun is not built for being a sniper. Now we get to that part of the video where I get to give some World of Tanks gold away. I'll be giving away 3,000 gold to the North American server or 2,500 gold to the European Union server. To win said gold, you must be A, be subscribed to my channel, and B, post a comment down below maybe about the video question, which is, what do you think of the T30's upcoming replacement, the T110? T110 is going to have overall better armor compared to the T30, but I'm hoping something noticeable will come out of all this, so hopefully a higher rate of fire. Maybe hopefully 3,000 points of damage per minute. If we can't have great armor like the IS-7 or the great racing speed of the AMX-50B, I'm hoping to get something like the best damage per minute of any of the other tier 10s. I'd be highly disappointed if the 120mm main gun that they give us, basically based off of the French tanks, is going to be outdone by tanks like the E75, who purely have a much higher alpha damage with similar rate of fire. Now, yes, granted, having a much higher rate of fire to be able to do more damage overall per minute is going to leave more room for error when it comes to shooting, but at least it gives the American line a fighting chance when competing against the other tier 10s. That's just me. I want to hear what you guys think. I just want to hear it. And please let me know what you guys think of the new microphone. I am really excited about it. I'm actually quite happy. This is, to be honest with you guys, this is my second cut. I mean, I did the recording all up front, and after listening to it and everything, I really like what I heard, and I just want to ask you guys, what do you guys think also how the microphone sounds? So I've already heard it, I've edited it, and it sounds great, and yeah, let me know what you guys think. So I thank you guys for watching. I'm Pandy. Good hunting.